Let's Talk World. This is Maria Pureza, and as you all know, Let's Talk World is about featuring you, every individual who have the passion to actually move their skill set into the next level of their life. And you've seen a lot of people that actually been on my show, Let's Talk World. And today, I'm so honored to actually introduce to you guys the CEO, President of Saga Shoes Asset Management Inc. He is an executive of large corporations in the past. He was also a radio host and executive producer of the Sex and the Money Show. And for those people who knows that show, it's amazing. So you go ahead and Google that back and a Google search. And he is also an executive of other broadcasting group here in the U.S. He is an analyst, an educator and advocate for veterans. Please help me welcome the very charming Len Connell.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for gracing my Let's Talk World, Len.
Definitely.
So how are you doing today?
Very good. Very good. Staying busy. We've been at this for around 12 hours today. We've had at least 6 veterans come in. We have a full slate tomorrow. And what we're doing for veterans right now, we're running 7 days a week without stop. Because not only are we at this office, but we're also at our fantastic swap meet office, which is in Space G6, right on the corner of Decatur and Oakey. We're there all weekend.
That's wonderful, Len. So tell us more about this RLC, Veterans Assistance. Yes.
Okay. Well, what we do is that we're a free service by federal law, and we help disabled U.S. veterans get their financial benefits and other benefits from the Veterans Administration and from the government. That is a very, 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 very big percentage of our population. Do you know that there are more veterans living right now in America than fought in every single war America has ever participated in since the Revolution?
Wow. That is a really huge information.
There are millions. In fact, the Department of VA Affairs is the biggest department in the government, other than like Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and all that other stuff like that. We have right now, most all veterans have some form of disability, whether they know it or not. They've been in the war. A lot of them have damage to their hearing. A lot of them have ringing in the ears. A lot of them were forced to carry real heavy loads on their backs, running up and down hills. A lot of them had injuries, accidents. They were exposed to radiation. They were exposed to hazardous chemicals in the Gulf. And what happens is that all of those different things create these disabilities that they bring back into their civilian life. Most of them do not know that they get paid a ton of money.
Wow.
Just for having them. So let me ask you this. How would you like it if you were making another $3,450 a month for the rest of your life, guaranteed by the government, tax-free, just because you had a bunch of disabilities?
I would love it. I would take it.
And you
How
can
about
keep...
civilians?
Civilians, yes. Let me tell you how that works, okay? Civilians that take care of disabled veterans, if they qualify, can get a thing called a Dependent in Care Award that's up to $1,100. Their children get the GI Bill that makes sure that they don't have to pay student loans. They get scholarships for college, or if they do have student loans, they get student loan forgiveness.
Wow.
Or if they buy a house.
That will be so helpful.
And you think today, like right now, here we are in Las Vegas, and we're in June of 2020, where over 200,000 people lost their jobs in the state of Nevada. We've had all these casinos closed. We've had all these people laid off. Not to mention that J.C. Penney went out of business. Starbucks is closing all the stores, all these others. And a lot of those people that are working in those companies are what? Veterans. So right now, how are they going to pay their mortgage? How are they going to take care of their families? So if they have access to our program, and by federal law, this is free, they can get their hands on maybe $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month if they qualify and if they do the process correctly.
And this is where you come in, because you guys actually help all these veterans.
Exactly. They come to see us, and what we generally do is that We have over 500 people right now that we're helping, and we're getting an average of 3 veterans that get an award every single week. And the time that it takes for the veterans to get the awards in this organization is a little bit over 5 months. Now, let me say something. It's not guaranteed. Sometimes the VA will say no. Sometimes the VA will not give them the full award that they've applied for. Sometimes they have to do additional things to get what they thought they would have wanted to do. We have a location at the Fantastic Swap Meet. We are open there Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It is entirely staffed by our veterans who are disabled veterans that we have gotten money and benefits, who love us so much that they volunteer their time to stay there and help veterans that want to come see us. And we basically set appointments there. The Fantastic Swap Meet, it's free for veterans to get in. They can bring their families.
Oh, that's nice. I always pay $1.
It's like, yep, we pay dollars because we're civilians, but I got a badge. I pay the big money to go there, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But
Well, yeah, you're big.
we pay the rent there. Yeah, we pay the cam and everything else, you know. But we have to sign the lease. But I do get a badge that I can come in for free.
So how long you been doing this RLC, or how long you've been doing helping veterans? Yes.
Formally, we've been doing it since the week after Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got
Just recently.
You got it. So we've been at this actually less than a year. I started totally by accident. And what happened with me was that I had worked in the financial world for 29 years. I had retired back in 2011. I had retired. I didn't say a word about money, even though I did it for 30 years. Then I had that hit radio show, The Sex and Money Show. Sorry, I did my announcer voice there, okay?
You have a very good voice, by the way, yes.
We were on Lotus Broadcasting, we were on KDWN, KLAV. We also had an internet show. We were on 15 hours a week and did that and never talked about money. And then I went to see my father. And my father is 89 years old. He was in the Korean War. His hearing was damaged being in the battlefield. And then years and years later, he lost pretty much all his hearing. And he says, "Hey, Len, my hearing aids aren't working. I want to get a new pair of hearing aids." So I went to a friend of mine who's a lawyer, veteran lawyer, and he says, "Take him down to Costco because the VA will give him $2,000 per ear for a pair of hearing aids." So I took him down there. Now, all I knew about the VA was it was one big ripoff, because everyone that I had ever talked to about it said, "We try to get benefits, we never get help, we have to chase them down, we get all this misinformation." So I'm going to my dad, "Hey, Dad, you're 87, let's go down and see if we can get you some hearing aids. It'll be a fun way to kill an afternoon at Costco," right? So they give him his hearing test. I say to my father, "Mr. Connell, you are so deaf. I'm going to be an honest man. I am not going to sell you a pair of hearing aids. I can sell you $4,000 worth of hearing aids right now. It ain't going to do anything for you." Okay? So we're going to send you to the transition center, the VA transition center on Sunset Road, and go apply for benefits there. So I take him down there. So I meet a number of CSMs, Command Sergeant Majors. We sit down, I say, "Hey, I got my dad here. I don't know if he qualifies for any benefits. He might make too much money. He was in civil service. He was a thing called a GS-13, which means he gets a pension of around $60,000 a year already, so maybe he doesn't qualify." And they said, "No, your dad qualifies for all these benefits." And I'm like, "No kidding." And they say, "Here's a whole bunch of paperwork to go fill out." Okay? Now you got to remember something. I got an MBA. I was in business for 30 years. I'm good at paperwork. Okay, I never wore the uniform either. I never served my country. But while everybody else was serving their country, you know what I was doing? Learning how to fill out paperwork, okay? So anyway, I took the paperwork home. I started filling it out, turning it in. Okay, this answer looks good. This answer looks good. Turn it all into the VA. They send me a letter back. Okay, we need some more information. Okay, good. I'll get that for you. Send it in, right? A couple months later, they asked my father to take a hearing test. So we take him down to this doctor, and they do this hearing test. They're like, you know, one of those. It's like, he's deaf as a rock. So I'm walking out with my dad. "Hey, Dad, I hope you live long enough to get your no answer from the VA, because everybody always told me they just, pardon my French, jerk you around, you know." So anyway, I never thought anything of it. So there I am the week before Christmas, and guess what? I manage my mom and dad's checking accounts because I'm their caregiver, okay? We had $31,000 wired into the checking account right before Christmas.
Wow.
And I'm going, whoa, where'd all that come from? So now you got to remember that I was a stockbroker for a long time. And I used to go on the computer and find out, like, where's this money coming from? So I run down the office and I get on my little, remember my little stockbroker kind of mojo, right? And I'm, these bonds support the VA award program. So then I called up the sergeant major and I say, Sergeant Major, how did I get all this money? And he says, well, your father got 100% irrevocable guaranteed by the United States government for the rest of his life, which meant at that time around $3,350 over and above his pension tax-free for the rest of his days.
Wow.
The next day, my father got his $3,350, my mother got $1,100. Okay? So anyway, I'm sitting there with $37,000 going into Christmas, in addition to my father's money, in addition to my pension for knocking myself out in the financial world for 26 years. And we're sitting really pretty. So I had to talk with my father and mother, and I want to say this, there's karma out there, and I went to other lawyers that help veterans with their benefits and other people, and they're going, yeah, you got it the first time, you were lucky, I'm a lawyer and I help veterans and I don't get it as quickly as you do, and that's an isolated incident and it's never going to happen again.
Wow.
So I'm sitting there, and now this is not terrestrial TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I looked at those lawyers and I got my handkerchief out and I said, oh yeah? Okay.
Amazing.
So that's what I did, right?
So that's where you started.
That's where I started. So I went back to my mom and dad and I said, you know what, Mom? We cannot walk away with all this money and just be glib little people and go, look at all the money we got. We're going to go on vacation. We're going to go buy, things and go to the Bahamas or whatever else. Now, I'm 40 years out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So I have a lot of friends of mine that are 40 years out of high school. And you know what they're doing? They're all taking those dream cruises.
Dream vacations.
We worked for the state of California for 30 years, and now we're going to go to Paris and Venice. And I could have done that really easy.
Mm-hmm.
And
But you didn't.
I didn't. I said, there's karma out there. If you learn how to do something like that and you don't share it with the world.
It with the world. I like that.
So I went to my mother and father and they said, you know what you do, Len? Take all the money the VA gave us and start a nonprofit. They walked away from every nickel the VA gave them. They said, all we're going to do is sit here watching Fox screaming at O'Reilly on TV. So it's not like we're going to do anything with it. So why don't you take and help other people? They did not have to do that. They literally did not have to do that. And
But they did because of the good of their heart.
Yeah. They could have said, hey, Sonny, go on out and dig ditches, dude, because we got all this money. We're hanging out. I mean, we're going to do, I'm falling and I can't get up, and get people to pick us up and stuff like that. But they walked away from every nickel of it.
That's amazing. That's a really empowering way to help others. And I see that you don't only have RLC, but you also have these veteran assistant angels.
Angels. And I'm going to tell you where that comes from, okay? Now, what happened was this, okay? I went out and started studying the process of veterans and how they get their awards. So I found these two lawyers that were VA lawyers. Mm-hmm. We went bebopping all over the United States. We went to veterans meetings. We went to service conventions. We met with generals. We met with admirals. We met with all these different people and found out how pathetic and broken the system is of helping veterans.
And that's a shame.
And it's a shame. And the more that I saw, the madder that I got, because it is a broken system. Okay? So, anywho, went through, looked at all this stuff, and then I came up with this model to make it work. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? I was in business. I worked for American Express. I did consulting with some of the top business consultants in the United States, including McKinsey and Company, Wharton School, Kellogg, and whatever else, to try to create a company today as Ameriprise. Okay? Mm-hmm. I use that same skill with the VA. And I say, I came up with a company that we can do this and make a lot of money. And then you know what my veteran attorney said?
What
Yeah,
is
they'll
it?
throw you in jail. Because it's illegal to charge veterans to get their benefits, just so you know that, okay?
And you don't want to be thrown in
Yeah,
jail.
we want
Yeah,
to go to
so
jail. We don't want to go to jail for 5 years.
yeah, so you wanna continue this because you're an advocate to
Yep.
veterans, although you never served your country, but then you actually went through with your parents went through
We went
as
through.
you know as a beneficiary of
Yep.
soldier. Actually, you went through with those sacrifices.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for the country.
So
So
I
you're
still
still
so I still wanted to do it. So we figured out how to create a better mousetrap. We had to create a 501c3 nonprofit that were full of disabled veterans. Okay. And then what we did is that we got people to get what's called full VA accreditation. We have a lady on staff. She's 27 years old. She's a disabled veteran. She got hurt in the Gulf. And she's actually a fully accredited VA advocate.
was that Ryan?
Yep, that's Ryan. Yep, she'll be on one of the future shows. Okay?
Yes.
Now, Ryan, just so you know, there's only one of three like her in the entire state of Nevada that do this full time.
Oh wow.
What we also did is we figured out how to create a 501c3 to accept charitable donations to pay for Ryan, Kathy, Sarah, Mark, and the rest of our VA staff to be able to do this job, whether it's a salary or whether it's just gas money or whatever they wish. We have a volunteer team of 12 people already. Okay, so they work with veterans. They get them all this money by federal law. They don't charge them a nickel. Now let me tell you where the angels come from. They are angels. They are angels.
I'm an angel too.
You're an angel, absolutely. Okay, what angels do is a couple of things. Now, I went to a lot of these interviews, and if you're a veteran out there, you probably know about this, right? You sit down with an examiner from the Veterans Administration, maybe an advocate, maybe somebody who's helping you that served, or maybe they didn't. And you say, you know what? I got this really bad knee. I've been a police officer for 20 years, and I was in Nam, and I got shot out of a plane, and it really bothers me. And they look at you and they say, well, you know what? My knee got hurt in Korea, not in Vietnam. So your knee's no good. Get out of here. And I've literally seen that done.
Wow, that
Okay.
is so sad.
I have seen people go in. Now you got to remember too that most veterans are programmed not to talk about their disabilities unless it's with other veterans.
Why is that? Why do you think a lot of veterans is have a hard time
Hard
actually
time?
sharing their pain?
A lot of reasons. Because number one, they were trained to fight and survive and not complain. So you're in a team. Okay, so remember when we were in high school or junior high or Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, kind of stuff like that, right? You never wanted the kid that was the gold brick one.
Yep.
Oh, it's too
Yeah,
heavy.
the whiner. Yeah.
I'm a whiner, and I can't pick that up because it's going to give me a cramp in my leg. Now, you know what happened to that person at night, right? They beat the tar out of him, right? So they condition these soldiers, if you get hurt in the line of battle, suck it up, get through it, move on. Now, they give them these 800 milligram pills of ibuprofen that anyone that ever served their country is familiar with. It's a pill you give Mr. Ed if he's sick. Okay, it's a horse pill. They chug a bunch of those. My father they used to call it my dad's days GI Gin. It was basically something that really took every pain you had and the ones you imagined away. And you got back out on that line. Because you can't be a gold bricker. You can't hold up your buddies. You can't let down your team. There's the hill. You signed your life away to the service. You better go get that hill. And I don't care if you got a leg blown off, an arm blown off. We'll deal about it later.
Doesn't matter. Yes, doesn't matter. Go and run to the hill.
Exactly. Now, another reason, too, is that a lot of times you'll get rank in the military. In other words, go from private to corporal to sergeant, whatever else, because maybe you're a good marksman. Okay, you're a good shooter. Okay, so maybe what you do is you have this high caliber weapon that throws all this force into your shoulder over and over again. Well, guess what starts happening? You start breaking your shoulder and you start getting ball joint damage and all of those stuff like that. I have seen X-rays of master marksmen that get ribbons and medals that give them that senior rank and that recognition, and you look at it and their bones in their shoulder are like pudding,
Oh my gosh.
shattered all over the place. But they know how to smile like this and go, see, I'm firing my weapon, and it doesn't hurt at all. I had a rifleman that had major shoulder damage for 9 years and faked it all the way through, and he wouldn't even flinch, even though he was getting hit with the types of pain in his shoulder that would have probably caused a civilian or another person like myself probably to pass out. Now, what happens is that over and over and over, this sucking up and get through in it becomes habit. And then they get out of the service and they go, there's nothing wrong with me. What are you looking at me for? There's nothing wrong with my arms. Now, you notice how high my arms are going? I can't put them over my head. Remember Senator McCain, right? And he got, banged up in the POW camp and he couldn't get his arms over his head, right? A lot of people like that. There's nothing wrong with me. Okay, look, I got 2 fingers on his hand. But don't you look at me. I can do everything you can,
Yeah, I think it's it's
Suck
a
it up.
principle, yes,
Get through it.
of being a soldier. I got that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Len, so you actually do help these soldiers or these veterans go to the process to get the right money that they are,
Exactly.
that they deserve.
Yeah.
Because they deserve more than what they are actually sucking in right now. Like they're just getting this amount and they don't want to go through all the steps and the process in the VA because they've been turned down so many times. So this is where you come in and help all our veterans out there.
Exactly.
So how they can find us?
Yeah. So what happens at like our angels, for example, what we've done is that we contribute a lot of money to bring accredited VA advocates to our corporate office, which is on West Sahara near CarMax at 6555 West Sahara, right near Rainbow and West Sahara in the Marbella Executive Complex. We actually pay for offices and pay for office support for those advocates in all different service branches, all different levels of experience, to be able to meet here instead of going 31 miles up the road to the apex where the VA hospital is. So we make it a lot more convenient. So they can meet with our advocates here. And by the way, we have certain people that are good with older men. We have women that are good with women. We have people that have more medical background. We have those that have more service background. So we match the right person with the right advocate. Now, if we have to send them out somewhere, this is a very intimidating process. And it's good to have an angel that sits there with them, waiting for them at their appointment, goes in the room to chat with them, to hold their hand and all of that stuff like that, so they don't get upset and leave the interview. Or they have a PTSD flashback, or somebody gets belligerent or whatever else, because these people have stuffed traumatic things in their life.
They did. Yes.
Oh, by the way, they might not have told their spouses. They might have not have told their kids. So here's a person that stuffed maybe a traumatic. Okay, we have a gentleman that was in the Navy. Okay, I was one of 10 people that was in a trailer that was doing intelligence work, and we were bolted to the deck of a destroyer. And wouldn't you know it, a tidal wave came in, and I was out getting a cigarette, and the 9 other people were in the trailer. The wave hit the trailer, knocked it into the water, and killed everybody, and I'm the only one that survived. And that person has what's called survivor guilt. They're all dead. I'm here. Why should you give me benefits? They're all dead. I don't need them. I should be dead with them. That's the kind of stuff.
Mentality,
that
yes, that they have, yes.
Now, what happens in a lot of those VA interviews, okay, is that they do what's called a directed interview. So this VA person has to get a certain number of information done in a certain amount of time. There are 5 other people waiting in the office. Now, you got to remember, this guy has not talked about the fact that his 9 friends were killed 9 years ago, and he feels guilty about the reason he survived. So he goes in, my wife says I got PTSD because I do all kinds of weird stuff, and I don't know why I'm here. It might have had to do with the fact that my 9 friends got killed, and I was the only one that survived. So then the guy says, okay, what ship did that happen on? Was it, okay, you said you were on destroyer CV4, okay, which one? He's like, would you please shut up? I want to tell you about the fact that my 9 people died. Quit talking about the destroyer. That's where they'll go. Okay, because sometimes what happens is just the mechanics of getting through the form. Excuse me, sir, I got to interrupt you. Okay, are you 5'7" and weigh 195, or was that in May? Let me make sure I get the stuff on the form right. He's like, I want to tell you what happened, right? So ultimately, there can be a pretty big
It's
conflict
pretty.
here.
So you do
Yeah.
you are your staff, those people that gonna be interviewing all these veterans, are well trained of what
Yes.
they do, because this is can be really complicated and very conflicted
Oh,
situations.
absolutely. So they have to have special classes they go to. So you can do, and generally accreditation is done a number of ways. Okay, so in other words, you can go to a service branch and volunteer as an advocate, and most of them are people who have been in the service that want to give back, or their immediate family. Okay, and they're people that want to volunteer. They want to give back. They want to help. It's not a paid position. They volunteer their time. They cannot charge for this. They cannot get a bonus for a job well done or anything like that. So they can go to one of the VSOs, which is a recognized veteran service organization, like some of the ones in back of me, the Disabled American Veterans, Order of the Purple Heart, a number of others. And there's always a well meaning person there who's an accredited advocate or a trained advocate that'll actually put them through a week long class where they'll get a certification to work under that veteran service organization. They can't go out and do it themselves. They got to work under them, and basically they do sort of clerical work to get them ready to talk to the other
Yes,
guy.
yes.
Okay, so there are other people that can take a state class that has 5 or 10 modules, and then they get a state certification. What our person Ryan did, she did the actual federal class with all 22 units.
Wow.
So she's got the best one there is. And so everybody that talks to a veteran needs to have some sort of an accreditation. Now, I am not an accredited advocate because I do the business side of this. Okay,
You're the one
so
who's running it.
I'm the
So
one that's
yeah.
running the company. So because I got to run the company, I don't get to be the accredited advocate, or it's violating federal law. Okay, I don't want to go to jail for 5 years. Okay, so the Angels have all the accredited advocates. They're a nonprofit. They'll never ask for a nickel. They'll never ask for a donation. They will stick right to what they're supposed to talk about. Okay, now I have to say something that managing your finances correctly as a veteran and understanding that picture of it, real estate, insurance, taxes, estate planning, is part of the process. Okay? Most people that are advocates don't have the training to do it, even though they got to discuss it. So
They're really bad at money.
they're not money people.
I'm speaking on my experience with veteran.
Yep, and it's a different. And what happens a lot is that they're taken advantage of financially, whatever else. But everybody that sits down in our organization is strictly qualified, strictly vetted, and we do it in a process that I believe is better than what's going out there. I came into this to build a better mousetrap. I did not come into this just to be another veterans agency, or even some of our other businesses we'll discuss later. We're not here to make money off of veterans, to say, oh, wow, we got all these veterans, let's see what we can sell them, whatever else. That's not what we're here for. We're here to do this better. Okay? So
Because you've been through it.
Been through
You've
it.
been through it. You actually experienced that part.
Yeah,
And you want to make it a better world for them.
exactly. And I hit the roof because I look at my father. He probably should have started doing this process, getting his money and getting his benefits 14 years ago when he retired from Nellis Air Force Base. And there was not one person that said to my father, and his losing his hearing was one of the reasons that they said, I think it's time to retire, Ray. Not one of those people in that room, there were colonels and generals and otherwise so-called experts, ever said to my dad, by the way, the VA Support Center is right down the street. Let me drive you down there and see if we can help you with the hearing. That did not happen. Okay?
Yep.
So I did this, and my team did this to do better. And by the way, every single person that works with us has either worn the uniform, okay, because a lot of veterans only trust other people who wore the uniform.
Yep.
And by the way, there's a bond between people who wore the uniform that we civilians will never understand.
Yes, we'll never understand. We'll never ever feel their pain, even though we say we felt it, but it's not.
We
It's
weren't
not
there.
as what they. Yeah, we weren't there. Yes.
The second thing is that we have brats. I'm a brat, by the way. Okay. By the way, there's a service badge for a brat. The brat is the spouse or loved one or close relative of the military veteran. So because I'm my father's son and I saw how he suffered by losing his hearing and whatever else, it got me mad enough to do something about it.
Nice.
What I find really is that the people that are more aggressive to help the veterans get the benefits happen to be the brats. The wives, the kids, they're the ones that really bring their elderly parents in here and say, what can you do for my dad? What can you do for my husband? What can you do for my son? And because we are in all these wars, we have millions of veterans out there
That needs help.
that needs help. Just in Nevada, we have at least 350,000 veterans in
Wow.
Nevada.
That is huge. And we have to find them all so that we can
Yep.
help them all, right, Len?
Exactly. And on top of that, they're the parents, the moms, the dads, the breadwinners for 1.5 million family members. Okay? So it's not only the 350,000 veterans,
But the people around them that actually sacrifice their time to.
and they got to live with it.
Yep.
And they get and they have to suffer with that veteran because and I hate to and I'm going to talk out of school, sometimes the veteran is a dead man walking. Okay? Meaning that yes, I was a veteran. All my friends died on that hill. I'm the one guy that walked out. Who cares about my pains and aches and what happens? I should have been up there for them. I don't understand why I'm sitting here while you're trying to get me money because frankly I don't deserve it because they couldn't get it because I had to bury all those people. That's where they go.
Yep.
But wait a minute, okay? If dad has PTSD, okay, like one of the gentlemen that trained me, by the way, okay, and if they get upset, they get flashbacks and they're immediately back on the battlefield again. So there are a lot of times, and I'll sit with a veteran, I tell my wife, do not shake me to wake me up. I will break your neck before I wake up because they're so keyed up in the military to say, uh-oh, I'm laying here, the enemy's got a bayonet to me. It brings them right back to the battlefield. Sorry, honey, I snapped your neck, like that. And a lot of them, and I'm going to give you a horror story about that. Okay, I'm going to give you a horror story about that. One of my veteran instructors, and when I bring these things up, I am not down talking veterans. I'm just telling you how it is. We love our veterans. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't love veterans and want to do it better. Okay. He has a son, a 14-year-old son. Okay, and the 14-year-old son says, "Dad, my friend Billy over here is going to spend the night with us." He's like, "Great, Billy, sounds good. Let's go out. We'll hit some baseballs. We'll shoot some basketball hoops. We'll shoot some pool. We'll BS around. We'll all kind of mail bond, whatever else." And that's what they did with Billy. Okay? So anyway, 3 o'clock in the morning, I hear steps going across the kitchen floor. They don't sound like my wife's footsteps. They don't sound like my son Jimmy's footsteps. They don't sound like the cat's footsteps. Stranger in the house. So that person got up, put the 14-year-old kid in a headlock. He's just trying to walk across the kitchen to find the bathroom. Okay? Now you got to remember, okay? This 14-year-old shot pool, threw baskets, played baseball with a veteran and his son, but it was unfamiliar intruder in the house. Before that guy was awake, he had the guy down on the ground in a headlock. And he's like, "Oh, Billy, sorry I did that, man." It's like, "Well, what are you doing to me, Mr. Jones? I'm just trying to find the bathroom, and you came out here, and you knocked me on my tail, And that's how quick that can go. And that's PTSD. There's people that can't have jobs because, and that's why, by the way, that's why people go postal. Because a lot of military people have preferential hire. By the way, if you get a certain level of disability, you get 10 extra points on certain federal exams that put you in those types of jobs. But then again, some person who doesn't understand PTSD might do something to set off that veteran, and then they have to have a management conference about why that veteran shouldn't be in that job. And then magically, what happens? You lose your job now, you lose your income, your kids don't go to college, you might have financial instability, you might have marital instability. A lot of veterans, the average veteran has been married more than twice.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I know
Um,
somebody who actually married like 5 times.
and then that person says, well, gee, I love my dad, I love my husband, but he's got this challenge with PTSD that prevents him from being in a job, or it doesn't even have to be PTSD. What about a person that might have hip and joint damage from being in the infantry and carrying a heavy pack and maybe getting shot a couple of times, and then they get a job where they have to stand all day? And maybe when they went in, and of course they said, "Don't say anything about your disabilities. You're not going to get that job." Do you have any problems? No, I don't have any problems with my joints. I can do anything I want, right? Then all of a sudden they're standing there at the front desk in a hotel, and their leg gives out, and then they
Do you
don't get
think
that job.
do you
Yeah.
think some businesses or businesses don't they can get in trouble for for not hiring our veterans?
Yes,
Is
they
that
can.
correct?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
illegal. It's
It's
illegal.
illegal. Yes,
Yep.
that's what I thought.
And the way that works is that it wasn't always that way. Just so you know that, okay. Um, they have an act called HIPAA, Health Insurance Privacy and Portability Act.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, before 1994, yes, you could discriminate against disabled veterans.
Yep.
So one of the things they got in the military, it's like our last thing, why don't they say more about their disabilities? Why aren't they more forthcoming? Well, before 1994, the last thing they heard before they got in the military is keep your mouth shut about any of your disabilities, or you're not going to get that job as a cop, a fireman, or an EMT, or whatever we think you should get. And so what happened was that a lot of them had to disguise their illnesses, they had to downplay them, and the person could actually say, yeah, because of that disability that you got in the war, we're not going to promote you and we're going to terminate you or whatever else. And that's going to prevent that wife and children from having the life financially that they deserve, because that veteran earned that benefit. They earned that money from their service. They signed a blank check to the United States government that said, I will forfeit my life if that's what you tell me to do while I'm in the service. And if I get banged up and whatever else, that's my problem because I signed all that away.
So what do you think? I've seen a lot of homeless veterans in town. See, they probably don't know that they have all these benefits that they can actually apply to. What? Why do we have so much homeless veterans?
Homeless veterans, a couple of reasons, okay? Number one is years and years of going through that. I tried to get a job here and I couldn't stand up. I tried to get a job over here and I had this problem. Oh, by the way, I've got all kinds of marital difficulties with my wife because I was in the battle and she just doesn't understand me, and I'm keeping a lot of stuff away from her and she's keeping a lot of stuff away from me. Also, sexually acting out, being promiscuous. Those are all
These
things
are
you get from
yeah,
PTSD.
coming together.
You
Yeah.
know, because when you live a life that's really exciting in the battlefield and whatever else, then all of a sudden they put you back in Podunk, Oklahoma, and say you're gonna marry one wife, you're gonna be in church on Wednesday, and you're gonna be plowing your field Tuesday. It's like, yeah, but I remember how it was back in Kuwait. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, it's very difficult and then that person might change. That person might have been one whole different person before they went in the military, and now they're out the other side having all these experiences, and they can't share it with their wife. So the thing that happens is that all these things create economic pressure on the family and relationship pressure, and then there's all this help in the military, but they might not go after it because they don't know how to get it, and then they wind up homeless or they wind up living under a freeway overpass. Okay, another one of the veterans advocates that taught me, okay, he says, okay, Len, I'm going to tell you some funny things, okay? If a car, first of all, you take all these veterans that have PTSD and wartime stress and whatever else, and you put them in a building that is the home for the veterans. It's a big building in the center of town, and it has a sign on it, and it says "Homes
Home for
for
Veterans."
Veterans." And you stick them all in somewhere where everybody knows where the building is. Well, a part of their mind, okay, and I never served in battle, this is what was told to me by veterans. Part of their mind says if somebody launches an attack with gunnery and artillery, the first thing they're going to shoot is the building that says home for all the veterans. So the last thing they want to do is be in the building that a part of their mind says is going to get blown up in the next attack, like it was back in Da Nang.
They're pretty smart, actually. They have like dimensions in their brain.
They see the world differently. So they
Yes.
go, oh my God, I'm in this building and with all these other people, and when the bomb hits, which and there's a part of their
That
mind
makes
that says
sense.
it's going to hit this big building.
Yep.
So I'm going to go be safe. I'm going to go
Okay.
find a place under the freeway on ramp where nobody knows where I am, and I'm going to feel safe sleeping there. And so that's why they all disperse themselves.
Nice. Well, anyways, guys, we are talking about benefits for veterans here with Mr. Len Connell. We will be right back. We're gonna go on a short break. I have so much or so many questions more to ask for our veterans advocate here, Len Connell. Please don't go away. We will be right back.
Are you ready to hear about the most amazing competition coming your way? It's the Gifts of Talent virtual competition where you can dance, sing, act, do comedy, all in the comfort of your own home. And a portion of the proceeds goes to feeding the youth. You have a chance to win some amazing prizes. Have fun!
To enter, go to whalerscreation.us, or, for more details, go to socialmediashows.com and hishopnation.com. Or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to get updates, and to vote for your favorite talent.
Here we go.
Let's get this thing going. You're looking for that breakthrough, right? Well, let me help you understand something. The breakthrough doesn't begin when your situation changes, okay? The breakthrough begins when the determination for yourself changes. This is all about determination. You got to be so determined to change yourself that when the situation actually has changed, you'll be right there on it. You got to be determined, baby. Let's go.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yes, you can. Come on, do it for Black Rob. Where we at? Where we at?
Come on, Dad, you good? Come on.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Get determined to change, baby. That's all we got. Let's go.
Let's go!
Welcome back to Let's Talk World, and I still have Mr. Len Connell over here, advocate for veterans, and he have these non-profit organizations to help veterans out there, to help them file their benefits,
obtain their awards. Yeah.
Yes, and we just spoke a lot earlier about how to file your benefits, but this time I would like to actually learn more about Mr. Connell right here. And I seen your resume saying that you are master's degree in business management or business
MBA at UNLV.
Yeah, UNLV. And then it's not only that, you are also bachelor's with
University of California, Riverside. And then I studied abroad. I studied at the University of Bordeaux in France, the University of Sorbonne. I was at the University of Geneva, and I did post-grad at UCLA. Go Bruins.
Yeah, you actually studying law, right?
You know what? I have a paralegal.
Oh, paralegal, yeah.
Yep. And so my educational background, because I was a mentally gifted moron, okay?
You're a moron?
Yeah, I'm a moron.
Are you a douchebag?
Oh yeah, I'm totally.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
you know.
okay.
So
There
this
you
is
go.
what happens. So this is what happens. Okay, all right. You gotta remember, my dad went in the service. Okay, he spent 6 years in the service. Okay, and then he got a thing called the GI Bill. My father, before he went in the service, was like the rowdy troublemaker, you know, stealing cars and gang banging and all that stuff like that, and you know, and shooting people up, and you know, he was from rough shanty Irish family, you know, wrong side of the tracks, you know. But he's a fighter. That's
But he never killed
civilians.
civilians.
No,
Okay.
he never killed anybody. You know, what I mean, but what I'm saying, he got
He's
in
a
trouble.
troublemaker, yeah.
You know, him and his rotten brothers, and, you know, and my grandmother could punch people out too on his side. I mean, they were a rough bunch of Irish people. And so, anyway, you know, his prospects in high school were not that good. I mean, when he graduated, they were like, "Thank you, get out of here. We never want to see you again." You know, so he went home, and my grandfather, God rest his soul, said, "You better go into service because I'm sick of looking at you and you're going to get a trade." So he ended up going to service, okay? So anyway, flash forward, okay? A lot of people that had my father's experience, he went to engineering school, came out with a C average, okay?
See average.
but he was very valuable to the aerospace industry, and I'm going to tell you why. Because
Why?
when they started building Apollo spacecraft, Mercury, Gemini, they want to go to the moon and do all stuff like that. Most of the people that worked in these aerospace firms went to Harvard, Yale, MIT, Columbia, Caltech, places like that, and they were very theoretical, lazy kind of college professors. And John F. Kennedy says we got to get a man on the moon in this decade, and they're like, oh yeah, let's explore the physics about how to do this. But you know what? Maybe we should use this equation for this, or maybe we should. So nothing got done. Okay, so they took all the guys that got engineering degrees with C averages. They came out of the military, and they found that they were really good bosses because they could put the fear of God into those lazy guys from MIT, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, whatever else, and basically say, okay, this is how it's going to go. You either get the rocket to the moon, or I'm going to send you to the moon. Which do you prefer? And guess what? That next Monday, they had the calculations all done. Here they go. Okay, this is what you need to do. This is how you get the rocket going.
Wow.
Okay? So guys like my dad that had been through the regiment of being in the service, being in combat, whatever else, they straightened up.
Well-disciplined.
Yeah, they put the fear of God in all the nerds. They said, "Come on, think, get it done." Like that, So move, come on. It's like you're either going to go in orbit, I'm taking you up to orbit, like that. And that's literally what my dad would do. Okay, and it worked out. By the way, my dad also worked with German V2 Nazis from that made the V2 rockets, So all the Nazis from Germany from World War II used to work for my dad. So he had all these Nazis because the only people who knew how to launch rockets in 1960 were the Nazis from World War II, the ones that worked for Werner von Braun. So like, Hyman's like, I'm not just a rocket up today like that, So he had all these Nazis that were working like, how are we going to get that rocket up in orbit? None of the Americans know how to do it. So you know how to do it. My 3-year-old son could do it. You Duncroft, you go like this, you go like this, you shoot the rocket, and it goes like that. My father's like, thank you very much. That's really good. Hey, guess what, boss? We'll have that rocket up there by Tuesday. Helmet's got it all figured out, So anyway, when I was like 2-3 years old, I had all these ex-Nazis walking around the house. Hyman's like, gonna do this. How you doing, you little leaf? Shit like that, So anyway, going further into my story, right? The last thing that my father wanted me to do was not to do well academically, because if I did that, then I would have been the one that got enlisted and got in the military. So this is how it worked in high school for me, just so you know that, okay? Okay, now if I were in high school and I didn't do well in auto shops, so what? If I were in high school and I didn't have a date for the dance, so what? Okay. If a guy half my size punked me and knocked me and pantsed me and beat me up, so what? You get a B+ in geometry, I'm going to kill you because you're not going to go to college and you're not going to go to UCLA and you're going to wind up like me and my stupid brothers having to go. So that's the pressure I was under.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? I mean, so I could mess up on anything the cool kids wanted to do well in high school, right? But damn it, you don't get A's in all your subjects and you're not in the scholarship foundation, you're in the top major work groups. I'm canceling Christmas for you, kid, So my father kind of put the head like, you got to be the best, you got to do all stuff like that. So anyway, I graduated from high school a year early.
Nice.
So I went to University of California, Riverside. I started my 17th birthday.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I went 1 year early. It's like, Dad, don't kill me. I'm in a year early. Good, you're in the high school university program. That's great. Okay, it's like that. Where's your scholarships? So anyway, I went to University of California, Riverside. It was the town I was in. I majored in political science, international relations. I was lucky that I was on scholarship. And I had to work. I worked for Gemco, which was a membership department store that was kind of like Target. Mm-hmm. So I worked 35 hours a week at Gemco. I went to UCR. Had nothing but misery. It was either work, study, work, study, work, study, work, study, work, study. That kind of thing. So anyway, we all used to beg for grades because we had to keep our scholarships. My family had moved to Nevada. I was still the one last.
So where did you move from?
Well, I was born in New England. I was born in a place called New Haven, Connecticut. Mm-hmm. Yale Memorial Hospital. I lived in Fall River, Massachusetts, where Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her father 40 whacks. I lived there for 9 years. And then what happened in 1974, I'm sorry, 1972, is that they had an election. Richard Nixon ran against a guy by the name of George McGovern. There was only one state that voted for George McGovern, Massachusetts. President Nixon becomes president. So you know what he did? He canceled every single government contract that went into Massachusetts. He said, okay, you're not going to vote for me. I'm going to take all your money away. So he closed all the military bases. So my dad's aerospace job went away and all that other stuff like that. So my father knew a guy who was the chief of the boat on the Nautilus, the first nuclear submarine. And he says, got to get a job, man, because I'm going to lose my job over here. I'm going to lose everything, and the only thing that's going on in Massachusetts now is TV repairmen, you know. And so he says, I'll tell you what, you know, Ray, fly across country and live in California with your family. You're going to take a big pay cut. You're going to lose around a third of your pay. So my father took a 1/3 pay cut, our family, in 1974 to move to California. That was that had a cost of living twice as much as what was in Massachusetts.
Yep.
So, I mean, we were like trying to eat the cat. I mean, we were like boiling soup bones.
I'm glad you didn't.
Oh, yeah, we left the cat alone, you know.
I'm glad you. Well, okay, so you moved to California.
Moved to California.
How did you get into production, into TV shows, radio shows?
Radio shows. Okay. So, anyway, I worked in the financial world for all these years, did all this other stuff like that. And we came up to an interesting time. 2008 was when the financial world melted down. Okay, we had never seen a depression that big in America since the Great Depression. Okay, so I got into the financial world in 1986. The Dow Jones Industrials was 1,200. Okay, by 2000 it was 11,000. For my life, that was like being Greg Brady, Johnny Bravo. Because you think of it, like back in the 60s. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Remember Bubblegum Rock? You might be too young for that. But you had the Partridge Family and the Brady Bunch. And you had all those like teen idols and stuff like that. Like Danny Bonaducci and all those people like that. But if you're selling stock market securities and the market goes from 1,100 to 11,000, everybody's doubling the value of their IRA like every other year. Monkeys could throw darts at the stock market and get rich. Okay, so I was just like Greg Brady. It was like, hey, you're in this Brady Bunch show. Everybody wants to be your best friend. You're making all this money, and you know, and you're like the wizard that's doubling and tripling my IRA. And by the way, there was so much money in Wall Street back in those days. You're flying around the world. You go to the nicest hotels. You're doing all this stuff like that. But then again, just like Greg Brady and Danny Partridge and all those people like that, David Cassidy, all good things come to an end, even for Marsha, you know. So guess what happened? 1974, they all went through puberty. They're all teenagers. They want to look at teenage shows, not the Brady Bunch. So they all got canceled. And then all of a sudden, hey, I was Greg Brady. Well, you can't even get a job working for Denny's, dude. Well, I used to be great. I used to have all these people singing and whatever else because, well, not anymore.
Let me ask you this, because you're talking about the deep depression. So what's going on with our, in the coronavirus right now? And it seems that it's a distraction to actually put our economy down. Do you think we're going to go on a deep depression?
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
Is it starting?
Yep, absolutely. It already has. You know, because you got to think of a couple of things, okay?
Do you think it's worse than 2008?
Yes, absolutely. Because look at all the people that lost their jobs. And the challenge that we had in 2008, and the reason I walked out and left that industry, well, at first I had been in it for 29 years. So it wasn't like I couldn't retire and I didn't have enough money put away and whatever else to do that. Before then, they understood that if you buy a home, if you put money in the stocks or a mutual fund or whatever else, the value can go up, the value can go down. Okay? So you could not walk into a company and say, you know what, I bought all these growth stocks and all these speculative stocks, whatever else, and they all went down. So give me my money back, or sue my broker, because the company said, "Wait a minute, you understood that those had risk, and you had to accept the risk of whatever else."
Yeah.
Okay, now you got to remember that when I started in the financial services world, less than 7% of the population even owned stocks. Okay, can you imagine a world where every mutual fund was in a little corner of the paper? Now, what happened in 2008 was that when the market crashed, everybody lost everything.
Yes, like zero.
So the government came up with an organization called FINRA. And FINRA's job, they exist today, okay, was basically to put brokers out of business. They were an instrument of vengeance. Because you got to remember, too, they had Bernie Madoff, they had Enron, they had AOL, they had the dot-com burst, all these terrible things. And everybody's 401k was in it, everybody's retirement plan was in it. So they needed to find a scapegoat. Now, if you sue corporations, corporations, by the way, paid a lot of money to settle lawsuits. Okay? But you know what? That's the cost of doing business. If I'm an $80 million company, I get sued for $1 million. Here's a million. See you later. Thank you. It's not going to hurt me any, right? But what they did is they figured out that all these brokers, you got to remember, that Sally Jones came up to me in that Rotary meeting, and she said she had all these great investments for me, and I moved my IRA out of the bank, and I went with her, and wouldn't you know it, 1 year later, I lost half of it. It's her that did it. I don't care about the company, whatever else. She's the one that put me in that, you know? So anyway, because of the widespread pandemic of all these people losing money, they figured out, yeah, you're right, you know? Let's blame it all on Sally, by the way, because if we go after this corporation, they just get all these lawyers, and they're just going to, you know, go find some money, pay it off. They're not going to change. But if we get Sally, we can go back and show the people in that town that big bad Sally who made all this happen. We put her in jail, and aren't we such a good government because we got rid of bad Sally? That's what FINRA came into being for. Okay.
Oh my.
Yes. And I saw the writing on the wall, and I said, you know what? It's just like Greg and Marcia and Jan and Danny Partridge, all those people that, you know what?
I don't even know who are those people.
Okay, you're too young for it, you know, but everybody over 40 understands. Okay, per example, okay, when you were a teenager, who were your favorite boy bands and stuff like that? Okay, who were like the sexy guys and girls on TV?
I don't watch TV.
Okay. Who are the ones you listen? Who are the ones you dressed like? Who are the ones you looked up to?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't. I dress up on my own.
Okay. So anyway, whoever those
That's my that's my fashion stylist. So
fashion stylist.
Yeah.
So whoever the trendy people are, you know, because he's the trendy fashion guy over here, right? You know what? If that were 10 years ago, today they're a bunch of big fat bums and they're middle aged. Nobody cares about them. Okay, because that's what happens with those fads. So I kind of saw that the stock market was a fad that had run its course, and all it's been doing ever since then is this. You know. Now about the COVID, and you want to talk about that specifically? Okay, you gotta understand something. Okay, just because the stock market went up doesn't mean all the investments in the stock market went up. Okay, the only companies that are making money in the stock market are aerospace, energy, and a lot of foreign companies. So if I buy 500 stocks in my 401k because I own an index fund that bets on the index and the index goes up, it doesn't mean that my fund's going to go up because only 3 or 4 stocks in the index made any money. So that's why people go, gee, I see the stock market going up so high and I don't really see me doing any better. Well, now you know.
because because on that actually stock you have different things that you have to actually put your money. You probably putting on the wrong one.
Yeah, and the thing is also too, when people buy, you know, and when people buy stocks and bonds and they talk to their brokers, okay, the broker has to sell this thing. So the guy goes, okay, what did it do? Well, it did 40% last year, and so that's why you want to be in that.
They go on history.
Yeah, historical. Now you got to remember, historical returns do not project actual results of the future.
Nope.
Oh, you didn't hear that? Okay.
I hear that.
Okay.
I hear that.
past performance does not dictate future results.
Future
Okay.
results, yeah.
But anyway, it did 40%. Wow. I'm getting my money out of that bank making 0.2. I'm going to go put it into 40. Well, guess what happened? All the people that put the money in before, when it wasn't doing 40, they're going, hey, I got my vacation money. I'm pulling it out of this sucker, right? So you hear a lot of people that say, as soon as I put my money in, wouldn't you know it always goes down? Because they're buying headlines, they're buying history. Now, in reality, what those brokers should do is sit there and say, here's a fund that lost 14% last year. But if you buy into this one, chances are you're going to get a lot more shares for your money. And if it just goes back up to zero, you've locked in your gains. That doesn't work too good. That's not keep it simple, stupid, like the guy in the MLM that tried to sign a person up. You got to keep it easy. Here's the 40. You want it? Hell yeah, But you don't want to go through that lengthy explanation because now people are putting question marks.
It calls overselling.
Exactly. And people buy their stocks the way they root for football teams or baseball teams. There's the winner, give them more stuff. There's the loser.
Yep.
And that's how they do
it's
it.
like a gambling, isn't it?
Most people, and the problem is that they want the returns of the stock market, but they don't understand, or they can't cope, or they can't suffer the risk of the stock market. So to purchase any mutual fund or stock, just so you know, every 10 years, without fail, ever since they've been tracking this, which has been over a century, there's at least one 20% drop in the stock market, and there's at least 3 10s, including this decade. And wouldn't you know it, your friendly broker always says, yeah, but that was back in 2008. That could never happen again.
Yes,
the
it
economy's
will.
different, And wouldn't you know it, we got
Yes, we don't, yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, let's go back to your broadcasting, Sex and Money.
Okay, Sex and Money. Okay. So anyway, where did that come from? Okay. So anyway, because I was a theater kid when I was in
You
high school.
are? Do you sing?
You know what? I used to sing actually pretty good.
Oh.
I was the captain in The Sound of Music.
Ooh, that's amazing. Did you hear that, JC?
Yeah, I was Mr.
Yeah.
Edelweiss guy. When I was rehearsing for it, just so you know, and my voice was like Count Dracula. It was like, hey, Edelweiss. He's like, quit doing that. You're doing Dracula again. You got to be an Austrian prince. You cannot be like Dracula. So my theater, quit doing Dracula. It's like, Maria, where are the kids? I'm going to bite them in the neck. Like that. So anyway,
so is the Sex and Money actually created here in Las Vegas?
it's created here in Las Vegas.
And how long does it run?
Sex and Money had a spectacular run for 5 years.
5 years.
And what I did was I said, okay, I was in theater, again in this financial world for 29 years, and now I'm out of it and I'm walking away from it. So what was the one thing that I didn't do? Because I was back, like 20, 21 years old doing shows and stuff like that. And all my actor friends are going, yeah, but if you do this, you're going to be out, selling little trinkets on Hollywood Boulevard and nobody ever gets a job and whatever else. And I had a couple of friends of mine became actors, by the way, okay? So anyway, okay, some of the people that did it, one of the vice presidents of Sony Pictures who made The Bridge of the Enterprise and Freddy Krueger's Hand and all of that stuff like that. His name is Clay Martinez. Look him up, okay? Another lady by the name of Patricia Ayami Thompson, who was one of the best Japanese Eurasian actresses, been on TV, probably over 800 appearances, very good friend of mine. David Hasselhoff used to buy hamburgers from me. Joe Piscopo used to act with me. Now, the biggest person, 2 people that I had as theater teachers, and I'm not dropping names, just so you know this. You just asked me a question. Who would you know that's recognizable, okay? Do you remember Jean-Luc Picard from the Starship Enterprise? Number 1, make it so. He was our substitute theater teacher when I was 14 years old, when he was a nobody. Because him and Ben Kingsley and Judi Dench and all those people, when they were in RADA, which is the Royal Dramatic...
He knows all those things.
Yep. I had all those guys as my theater teachers when I was 14 years old, because they would get on vacation from their British job, and they would come to Riverside, California, and they get a job making $28 a day as a substitute teacher. So we were blessed with all those people when they were nobodies. You know my theater teacher's name was when I was 14 years old? Miss Seminella, and we used to always call her Miss Salmonella, just so you know that. Okay? Now, this lady couldn't even paint a stage, but she was a teacher, in the school district and whatever else. So she gets pregnant, and she goes on maternity leave. Okay, so you got to imagine Captain Picard from the Starship Enterprise, big, pompous, Patrick Stewart. He comes out to the class and he says, "As you know, Miss Manella is pregnant, and I will be your teacher for the next 5 years," or whatever, And he's up there and he says, "We're going to teach you how to do diction, how to speak perfectly, and how to do things the way Shakespeare would have wanted it," And he just drilled us on all kinds of tongue twisters and stuff like that, and he wouldn't put up with any deviation. He was a terrible taskmaster, But you can imagine, Captain Picard saying, "Your teacher is pregnant, and for that reason, I am going to be your teacher," And it's like, I can remember that. We had Ben Kings, we had all those people like that. Well, they were bums, they were nobodies, And so, anywho, when I got through my finance, I said, okay, why don't I do the opposite? Why don't we take the life that I didn't pursue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I went in this direction. A lot of people are in theater and choir and arts and whatever else might have wanted to go in that direction. So I put an end to the financial thing, and I said, everybody goes, you should get a radio show. So I walked in. So I had a client of mine that was she was 80-year-old Jewish yenta that was talking about how to have a better sex life. Okay, so she's like, "You know what? Me and my husband, we have fantasies and stuff like that." People really didn't get turned on by 70 and 80-year-old yentas talking about their sex life. Okay, so it kind of went over like a lead balloon. It's like, "Hi, my husband doesn't fantasize about me." Yeah, you're 400 pounds. That's probably why.
So the Sex and Money show is all about talking sex?
Actually, it's not even that. What I did is I inherited that show because the lady that ran it, okay, wanted the parking space of the station manager, and she cut him off in the parking lot and took his parking space. So the station manager of that radio station said, "Get that woman out of here," okay? So they went to me and they said, "You know what, Len? You keep the show. It's a half-hour show. It's before sports. We got preempted all the time. It was in the worst spot possible." And I did a show where I was supposed to interview a lady. And you got to remember, I had really not known anything about radio. So I was supposed to interview this lady who was supposed to talk about a certain program, whatever else. 5 seconds before we went to air, she had a panic attack. She threw a microphone off in her headphones, and she ran out of the room crying. And it's like, "And now here's your host, Len Connell." And she's like, "Oh my God!" She went out of the room like that. And I've got this microphone in front of me, and I got to talk a half hour, and my guest just left. And I got to start talking. So I made it up for a whole half hour about a subject I knew nothing about a person. And I'm just like, just going through it, and I'm just acting like it's nothing. And all the guys are in the booth going, "He's a pretty cool dude, man, He's making all this stuff up. He's just going on about all these subjects and whatever else. And it sounds interesting. And by the way, he's the only guy I ever had on the radio that never goes, never does that." I went to my theater production, said it all the right way. And then they said, "You know what, Len? We like you. We're going to go have you talk to the general sales manager. He's going to give you some pointers on radio and stuff like that." So I started talking to him, and he says, "Len, you're in the wrong spot. You're in this preempted Saturday night 6:30 spot that always gets preempted by football. Why don't you jump up to the 7 to 8? Because you'll be right before a real popular musical radio show." And I said, "Okay, sounds good. Let's expand and do all this stuff like that." So I got my own hour. And then he started giving me pointers on how to do a show, what to say, what to do. And he wrote out this dial called a hot clock. You put your commercials there, you put your first guest here, you put that there. And I had this like dinky little thing that he wrote, and I made a million Xerox copies of it. And every time the guests come in, I say, okay, Bill's going to be here, Betty's going to be there, Joey's going to be there. Everyone's going, look at him, he's got the little thing the guy wrote on the napkin and he Xeroxed it, you know. So a lot of people in radio were very helpful. So I would stay after the show and I would talk to different on-air personalities and production people and technical people, and I was just picking brains. And then I would go there during the week and I was just asking a lot of very, very popular radio people what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And the show got progressively better and better. It was on KDWN, and they're a 50,000 watt radio station. Now, this is why this is important. That's a clear channel blowtorch signal. And I'll tell you what that means, okay? At night, you know how at night, maybe you're not old enough for this, but when we used to listen to AM radio in our car, and you're driving through the desert, and all you could get was AM years ago, you know? And so anyway, you turn your radio on at night, and you're getting Oklahoma, Chicago, Florida. AM signals carry for thousands of miles at night, providing they're on a 50,000 watt radio station, okay? In fact, years ago, they used to have a guy in the 50s and 60s, Wolfman Jack, okay? And he was going, this Wolfman Jack show, and I'm going to show you how to get clear sound. You know, he knows what I'm talking about, right? This guy was in a Mexican radio station in Tijuana that was 100,000 watts. So at night, the Wolfman was everywhere, okay? This only happens at night. Okay, so in every radio market, there's one or two 50,000 watt clear channel signals. So all the other stations power down, KDWN powers up and goes omnidirectional, which means that we're hearing in Canada, in Mexico, in Chicago, in Tampa, Florida, all over wherever the signal would bounce. So we did a call-in show. And Vegas was a sex and money town, because in Vegas there are only two things that matter: sex and money. You got gambling, which is your money, and then you have the big adult industry and the showgirls and the cocktail waitresses and everything else. That's the sex. So what we really did in that show was find real over-the-top, interesting personalities to interview. And so for the first half hour, I'd interview them, and I got some real interesting people. I had all the girls from the Bunny Ranch on. I had people that were Goombas back when the mob ruled Vegas. I had all these different, you know, high-stress kind of interesting people, and I would interview them. And then what we would do is that the second half hour was where we did our call-ins. And we would get call-ins from all over the United States. And I learned how to get really good at call-ins. And that was a skill that you really need, because in a 50,000 watt blowtorch radio station that's network owned, you do not decide when the commercials go on. They do.
Oh.
So you had to be...
I'm glad I do.
Yep. So you had to be out at 7:29:30, or somebody was going to say, all my life, my father, right before he died, he said to me, get in the zone, auto zone. You can have a carburetor for that. And so you did not want that to happen, okay? So you had to get them in and you had to get them out. And so anyway, what happened was that I got really good at that format. And you're in interviews, you have talkative people. So people that run for re-election, and another thing, and another thing, and another thing. Wait a minute, we're coming up to 7:54:20. I got to make this guy shut up, you know. Yes. So it's like, and I like all the things you said. Now we're going to go to a commercial from Pep Boys. Pep Boys on the like that. It's like, get off the air. You know?
I love it.
The other guy you got is the one that doesn't talk and says yes.
No, yeah, those.
We had a neurosurgeon, right? You know, when we had this neurosurgeon, and he was the guy in Vegas that if the president were shot in Las Vegas, he was the neurosurgeon that was supposed to fix his brain, and he was in a secret location every time the president was here. And we got him here, and we
Who was the president at the time?
That was President Obama.
Oh, you know? Okay.
And so what happened was that we said, okay, if President Obama were shot in Las Vegas, you're at a secret clinic in a location that your job is to stabilize the patient before he gets on Air Force One, and you're there to do this. So I said, well, what's it like, being there in this secret place, this secret clinic that nobody knows about, and if the president gets shot, you have to evaluate the wound and fix him up with all the pressure of maybe the press finding you and all sorts of stuff like that. He goes, easy. Will you talk more, please? So you can either get A or B. Now I'm going to say something. The worst thing that ever happened to me on the air, okay, and this is the one where you go, there's power in the media, okay. I had a guy try to commit suicide on my show. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah.
I want that.
So what happened was I had a psychologist on, and we were in the depths of depression, people losing their job, all stuff like that. And she was a suicide counselor. Well, doctor, you're a suicide counselor too. Do you see a lot of people out there that have kind of lost hope and they feel like there's no more reason to live, and maybe they consider suicide or do something like that? And what do you say about all those people that might have lost their jobs and now they're not working and they don't have any money, they don't have to feed their family, and they've gone right to the edge? And then I go, hey, audience out there, because you want to have people to call in. It's like, anybody out there stressed out? Call us up at KDWN 253-9496, area code 702. We're here to listen to you. And a guy calls me up 8 minutes before the mandatory commercial at 29. I've had it. I'm going to kill myself right now. I got a gun to my head. I'm going, well, you got 8 minutes to do it, So my station manager's like, like this, and it's like, no, we're staying on the air. Hey, we might get a Pulitzer about this, So anyway, we had to talk this guy down.
That's amazing. That's empowering.
8 minutes. So we relayed him over to 311, which is the LA suicide hotline. We got enough out of him, enough out of him. But it's that situation where the power of what you say is, if you're is very much.
It's critical, yes.
And you just don't want to go to people, hey, feel you had it, give me a call, because a guy that's out there with his gun goes, yeah, I think I'll call you up and blow my brains out right out of the air, That was the most stressful thing.
Oh, my God.
Now, our station manager says, I love the way you handled that. You're really professional on the air. You got the guy down, all stuff like that. And my board guy in the back going, if he had blown his brains out, we would have had it in this place, So how we moved on from the show was that I didn't like the interview format. I thought it was good for 50,000 watts, Larry King, the whole United States. We got really good at it. I mean, don't go killing yourself. I only got 8 minutes before a commercial. We got to figure this out before we go to AutoZone, like that. And I say that facetiously because that haunts me to this day. Doing that.
Wow.
Yeah, to this day,
So that's the reason why you moved to. Is it a comedy? Okay,
I went to a comedy. So what happened was that a lot of very, very, very big people in the media said, Len, you're not going to learn how to do radio unless you go to a drive time show. Now that's different.
What's the drive time show?
Drive time is when people are going to work from 7 to 9 in the morning. They're at their lunch hour, or they're coming home from 4 to 6.
Yeah, okay.
Now that's a different show, because you can't have 20-minute interviews. Everything's fast. Like, now we're going to go to weather. We have cloudy skies. We have a temperature of 75 degrees. Let's go to traffic. We have a fender bender over there on Tropicana, Maryland Parkway. Let's go back to our guest. Hi, you're a veterinarian. Yeah, I am. How many people do you work on? Cats and dogs, whatever else. Okay, now we have to go to a commercial from AutoZone. Oh, by the way, AutoZone is right next to Osaka's Japanese Bistro in 5 convenient locations. Do you like Japanese food? Osaka has a lot of specials. Let's talk about it. You got to do that, okay? Which I can do really well, by the way. Okay.
Yeah, you did. You did really well.
Yeah, so you go from that Saturday. Hi, this is the Sex and Money Show on KDWM AM 720 Las Vegas. Please give us a call at 702-253-9696. We'll be happy to hear your calls. You go from that to the Sex and Money Show. Let's go to weather with Gunny Frank. What do you got? So it's a totally different thing. So they challenge.
So this is a radio show. It's not a TV, right?
No, this is a radio show.
So we are turning this to a TV show, correct?
I'd love to turn to it. That's where we want to go to the new medium, So what happened going through this, they had a station called K News, KNUU, AM 970. They were going out of business. Okay, they sold their signal to the Catholic Church, just so you know that. But the last 6 months in their death throes I knew a sales director over there that gave us 4 to 6 Thursday and Friday, which was
Nice.
my drive home traffic spot. So I said, we're going to recreate the show, make it real fast paced. So the Sex and Money, I started to be able to do comedy gigs and start to do the skits that I wanted to do, make it not very serious, create some characters in the show. So I had like the sexy traffic girl, and I had the sexy weather girl, and I had my gunny guy in the Hummer that was driving through Las Vegas traffic, and it's like, Frank, you got your 50 cal out? Yeah, I got the 50 cal out because they're binding up all over the I-15 southbound, you know. So I learned how to do a real fast-paced show.
That is
And I learned-
amazing.
and I learned to throw my skits in. So then, as they went out of business, which we knew was going to happen, somebody says, you know what? You got to go talk to Lotus. You know, they weren't Lotus Broadcasting, okay? Somebody whispered in my ear that Lotus Broadcasting was buying KLAV AM 1230.
Are they still up and running up to this day?
They don't do talk shows anymore. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So anywho, I'm going, no kidding. Show Lotus Broadcasting, one of the biggest media empires in the United States, is going to buy this piddly little KLAV station that was owned by a little private company that was barely staying afloat financially. So anyway, I went over and I said, I got this big stack of money and I want to buy Monday through Friday, because we owned our shows. We had to pay them to be on the air. Okay, we had to get sponsors. Okay, so I went in and I'm like, I want to get Monday through Friday from noon to 1, which is the top of the hour drive time. That is the that is the second best hour in radio. Okay, and I don't know why they would give it to a local person. If I was a station, I would give it to Imus in the morning or somebody who was a big national star. You know, you don't give that to local people. So I signed the contract that I had them for 2 years. And every time a noon to 1 came available, and each day I grabbed it, I grabbed it, I grabbed it, I grabbed it, and the sales director started to go, I'm loving it, man. He's just spending money all over the place doing this stuff like that, because I knew Lotus was going to buy the place in a couple of months, right?
You guys already,
I already
an
had it
idea,
down.
yeah.
Now, I had one very good friend of mine.
Inside tip.
Yeah, inside tip. I had one real good friend of mine who was really big in Las Vegas entertainment, and she had the show from Wednesday from noon to 1, and I'm just waiting for her to give it up. I'm like, come on, give it up, give it up. I want the whole slot for the week. Come on, you're gonna get out of there. Your show's no good. You know. So anyway, finally got my 5 days a week. So we brought in, where Sex and Money came in, is that we started doing comedy. So I went down to the Onyx Theater. I went to all the lounges. I found singers. I found comedians and stuff like that. And I said, we got to kind of make this show like the Rat Pack, but in the 21st century. So I found this girl named Jenna. Jenna looks like Britney. Tall, blonde, blue eyes, kind of wild. Okay, so if you've ever seen Britney, you've seen Jenna.
Who is Britney?
Britney Spears.
Oh,
Yep. So anyway, supermodel, good looks, method actress, incredibly good actress. So I said, Jenna, you know what I'd like you to do? I want you to be the sexy showgirl, traffic girl.
how old is Jenna now?
Jenna's probably in her 30s. She was in her early 20s, and she was smoking hot when I had her. Okay. Now, here's the thing. She has an Ivy League education, Phi Beta Kappa, in that package. Okay. So she comes in with all these napkins, with all these routines.
But you're doing it in the radio. How could you show?
We put her on Facebook. We put her on social media.
Oh, I see. I got
And we
you.
put all her modeling pictures. We put her in pink negligees, and we said, "Okay, see our traffic girl Jenna in her pink negligee on a Facebook site, like that." And they're like, "Whoa," And she had a real sexy voice.
Nice.
So what we used to do is we say, "Okay, now we're going to Jam and Jenna with our sexy traffic report." Ooh, there was a slam, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. on Maryland Parkway in Tropicana. I think they liked it. Ladies, make up merry moment on the I-15 southbound. Slather that lip gloss on and be the star in your car. Now, since we are not a terrestrial show, okay, the one that all the girls wanted to do, okay, intermittent traffic on the I-15 northbound is stop and go traffic. And so you go, someone's going slow. No fast. No slow. No fast.
Oh my God, I want to meet Jenna now.
Every girl that came on the show wanted to do that. You want to do Jenna? Yeah, I want to do Jenna. I'm going slow. No fast. No slow. And
That was amazing.
And then we get this French girl, okay, and she spoke no English. And we made her our sexy traffic spy. Now she had no idea what she was saying, but she sounded really French and sexy. So she go, a gravel truck dumped his load all over the place. Fortunately, they all get around him and help him get his rocks off in time, And people, the station manager going, okay, we're gonna get shut down for that one. And and I said, if you ever get confused after you do your routine, just go, I don't know what this means, but it sounds so sexy. And you know who sponsored our sexy traffic? Osaka. Gene thought it was the greatest thing. The owner of Osaka thought it was the greatest thing. He's like, hey, I'm going with this. This is great,
Yeah, well, we're not dropping those yet because those are our secrets.
Okay.
But anyways, yes. But anyways, thank you so much for that information. Anyways, let's get back to actually helping our veterans. Go ahead and tell them where they can find and where they can donate. Or, by the way, before we go to that, you take volunteers too, right?
That's what we do. Yeah, anybody that wants to volunteer to do anything for the veterans, we definitely want to talk to you and become part of the Angels. And right now we have 12 veterans that help us. They give out of the kindness of their heart. A lot of them are disabled veterans that we've helped before. So this is a family. And my vision for the veterans is to have an organization like ours in every major city in the United States.
So we only are here in the Nevada
Vegas.
for us, yeah.
But
for
you look
now.
at a place like San Diego and
Yes.
place like that, they need them everywhere.
Everywhere, because we have a lot of veterans all over the nations. It's not only in Las Vegas. So we need you on every single state
Every single station.
in the United States.
We need to be everywhere where there's a military base.
Yes.
And
yes.
Yep. And if you look at it, we have millions and millions of veterans. 2% of all U.S. veterans are getting the benefits at the level they deserve. That's it.
Yep. So where they can actually send their information or maybe inquire.
Okay. So if you want to inquire, best thing to do is if you're a veteran, get your tail down to the fantastic swap meet Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 10 to 6 and talk to one of our veterans in Space G6. Decatur and Okie.
Yes.
Right on the corner, right on the price. Okay. Veterans get it for free. Okay. If you want to call us, it's 702-743-0410. 702-743-0410. And my team, Kathy and Ryan, will put you through our intake process and get you where you need to be. If you want our website, it's www.rlc, Raymond Leonard Connell, RLC, that's my dad's name, vetvet.com. www.rlcvet.com.
There you go. There you have it. Thank you so much, Len. That was amazing. You are literally a very amazing and very actually talented man. Yeah, you've been through a lot, and I am so glad to hear that you actually went through with your passion in the acting, in the comedy, in the radio, broadcasting. That's amazing, and it's next on social media shows. You will see him more, right?
Absolutely.
Sex and money, right?
That's right.
Well, thank you so much, viewers. Thank you so much for staying with us. I hope you learned something new, and to those veterans out there, we are here for you. RLC VET.com is here to help you guys actually go through or seek your benefits as a soldier or as a veteran. Thank you, and we'll see you guys again next week. Don't forget all our shows. If you actually missed these shows from the beginning, you can always go to our Facebook page, to our website, socialmediashows.com, and it will be streamed at Twitter, Periscope, Tweets, and YouTube in few days. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys again soon. Bye-bye.
Hello, my fabulous friend, and
Thank you for watching Let's Talk World. I hope you enjoyed our featured guests for the day. Us.com, subscribe on our channel on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. Don't forget to share and like and comment on our show. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys again next week.